Oh hey guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my stream, and welcome to another chapter. Another chapter working on this guy here. That's our Su-57 148 scale by Zvezda. We'll run the intro, we'll get right into it, okay? We are back and we are going to continue on the build. Last time we got our main missile bay door, got that all installed, and I installed the actual missile bay just to give the fuselage a little bit of stability, a little bit of rigidity in there, just so that it's not a great big single flat thing. It's got to have a little bit of a box to it, and it's going to be a little more solid, just like it would have been if I were displaying this or having it, if I were building it with the missile base open. Okay, so the other thing we did is we got our intake manifolds intakes all assembled and installed, and so those are in. And the intakes obviously also include part of your landing gear bays. Okay, so that's done. The next step, we have to backtrack just a little bit. I did talk to the client, and he does want to have the missiles displayed on the wings. He wants the missile bays closed, as we already have, but he does want the missiles on the wings. So we got to backtrack on the book, and we've got to drill some holes in the wings. I'll change the camera, you can see how this is going to process, it's going to work. Okay, so you look on this page here where it shows you everything. It shows you up at the top here that we're supposed to put holes in the wings here, in these 3 spots and these 5 spots, if you're going to be doing the missiles on the wings, which we are doing. Okay, and we happen to have little holes kind of notched in for us already on each wing. Looks like I got a ejector pin mark here that I'm going to have to smooth out, otherwise we're going to have some problems later when it comes to actually putting their 2 halves together. So let's just file this down and make that nice and smooth, just like that. I'll go over each one just so that we don't have issues later. That's nice. Got another one here. Just file it down. That's smooth. Doesn't have to be pretty, but it does need to be filed down. And we might have an issue here too, so I'm going to file this one down. It actually feels like, yeah, this one's actually an ejector pin hole, so we don't have to worry about these ones. Got those in there. Same with that one. Just go each one just to make sure. We don't want them proud, because if it's proud, then we're going to have an issue when it comes to putting the 2 halves of the fuselage together. So just make sure. If they're holes, that's fine, you don't have to worry about it at all. So there we go. Okay, so that's cleaned up. So we've got our little holes we need to drill. So we've got to pick a drill bit size that's going to match. I think this might be a little too big. Yeah, I believe that's too big. Let's go with my Tamiya one out here. That one is pretty close. I'm going to change my glasses here. That one's pretty bang on, so I'm going to use this drill bit, which happens to have some CA glue on it because I use it to clean that out. Okay, so I'm going to show you, even though I'm holding the wing underneath here, I'm not putting my finger directly under the hole. You do this, okay, you do that, you're just asking for a drill into your hand, into your finger, and cut yourself. You don't want to do that. So what I try to do is I put 2 fingers and kind of guessing, then try and get it so that when it does go through, it kind of goes through in between my fingers a little bit. But this way I'm still putting pressure on the wing. It looks like we have some panel line circles in these at least 4 spots here. Oh, there's a 5th one there. We've got panel line circles that allow us to kind of guess where they are. So I'm going to put my finger, one here on this side of it and one here, so that in theory the drill bit's going to go right in between my fingers. Okay, let's flip it over here. and we'll start drilling. Don't use too much pressure, you don't need it. Although my drill bit is a little bit dull from the CA glue on there, so I've got to use a little bit of pressure. But you can sort of feel it as it starts to bite into the plastic. Just do this very gently and slowly. We don't want to warp the plastic, we don't want it to break, and we don't want to stab our finger with the drill bit. This drill bit, unfortunately, because of the CA glue that's on it, is not actually drilling anything. So let's get rid of some of the CA glue on the tip of my drill bit here. File ain't doing it, I'm gonna have to use a knife. And that's the problem with CA glue. It doesn't like to disappear. Okay, so in theory, the glue taken off of this, this should have an easier time drilling into the plastic. Let's try this again. Again, line up my fingers right there. Oh hey, sudden we're drilling just like that. That was so easy. Just like that. And that is a perfect size. So again, just making sure my finger's not really underneath of it. There we go. Okay. This one here. Okay. This one. Now, if you don't have a pin vise, you can use an X-Acto knife. Okay. That is an option. You just have to be a little bit more careful. Okay, and what it's going to do is going to leave some burrs on this side of the wing. You see those burrs there? Okay, so you're going to have to clean those up, right? So you can't just leave it like that. What I do like to do to clean those is take my X-Acto knife, just to give it a little twist. Perfect. These three. Not quite as good, so just give it a little touch up. Like that. This one's these a little, it's being a little stubborn. There we go. Okay, our 5 holes on that wing are done. Just like that. We're going to do the same thing on this side, okay? There's 1. 2. 3. 4, and final one. Okay, there we go. So again, flip this over, and we're going to clean up our burrs. There we go. Another thing that this good does by doing this is it kind of chamfers the hole a little bit. It helps to guide the pin in from the missile pods. sometimes it's a pretty tight fit, and so having them chamfered a little bit just helps out that little bit. Get that pin in the hole. Okay, so that's done. Those are done. So that section, that part is done. So now this page is completely finished, except of course for the missiles. These missiles, however, do not go, these go inside. They're not going to go on the wings. We're going to deal with those later. Our wing-mounted missiles are totally different. So the next step is put these pieces of our intake down. Flip this over. Put these pieces of our intake. So we got to find our E tree, and we'll deal with those. So let's find our E tree. As I just try and break some stuff. I believe this is E. Yes, it is. Trying to break my missile carts apparently. And my ignition coils. And my motorbike. Trying to break a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, okay, so we need E1. This guy here. Okay, and E1 is going to go with E37. This one here. Alright, just going to put that there because we're going to need it in a minute. This is another one where nub cleanup is kind of important. You want flat lines, not like a flat line. You don't want a flat line. That would send you to the hospital or maybe even the morgue. You don't want that. But you do want flat lines on this because these two are going to go together kind of like this. And so you want your lines to be flat and straight. Maybe that's a better term. Straight lines. How about that? Straight lines instead of flat lines. That might be a little better. Okay. So, we gotta figure out how these are gonna go. Looks like this guy, this is E1, and he goes like this. Sits in there like that. And then E37 is going to drop in right there. Just like that. And that's a nice fit. Seems to fit nicely. We'll put a little glue on there. So I'm just going to hold them in place as best as I can with it all lined up. Give that a try. There we go. So we'll get some glue along our edges here. And along here. It's kind of an important edge. We want to have this lined up as best as we can so it's nice and smooth. There we go. A little bit of a gap there, but that's okay because it lines up perfectly here and it's lined up pretty good at the front. What I'm going to do is hold it down there like that and put some glue along our thing here. Just kind of hold that for a second while it does its thing. This doesn't look quite lined up. There we go. think we can get it to stay in its spot. I'm going to put a little bit of glue along this edge under here if I can. I don't think I can. I might be able to get in there with the glue brush. Maybe. The nice thing with the Tamiya Extra Thin is it wicks along nicely. This panel wants to sit proud. You see how it's sitting proud here? It wants to sit out and not really line up. It's not really. It's really just hitting the inside of the intake here and making it sit up high. I kind of want to take it off, which I think I'm going to do. We're going to dismantle it here. You know, the glue is kind of already starting to do its thing. I'm going to leave it actually with the glue already going to work on it. If I take it off now, it's going to leave a rough edge, and I don't want that. It's going to be easier to sand that down later. Than to worry about that little part being proud. It's going to be easier to sand that down than it will be to fix this line if I pull it apart. So we're just going to leave that. So keeping this side in mind, I'm going to file this down a little bit in here. Since it's fully covered anyway, I'm just going to kind of take a file to this edge a little bit like this and just take away a little bit of material on this edge here in anticipation of it doing the same thing on the other side, on this side. Okay, so with a little material gone, taken off of there, it's just a little bit. It's not a whole lot, but sometimes that little bit of material makes all the difference. Okay, sometimes that's all the difference it takes, just to make that sit down so that it's flush. You guys saw me at the beginning of this using a little bit of that white Vallejo putty. I'm going to put some of that in there to fill in that little gap. You see that little gap I got going on there? I don't like that gap, okay? I don't like that at all. So, Vallejo's plastic putty, this is water-based. So you can cleans up with water. It's very nice. I'm just going to do that. And then I'll just give it a little bit of a wipe. This. And there we go. Gap filled in. Okay. Now let's grab our other two pieces. That's going to be E27 and E36. These two. Bing and bang. Okay. So let's get these. There's that one. And that one. Alright. So, clean up our nubs. Like we do with everything. Always make sure our nubs are clean. So if you don't clean them up, you're going to really not have it fit properly. It's going to sit proud, it's going to sit high, it's not going to sit in the slot it's supposed to be in. Just everything will be fitting wrong. Okay, that side's nice and clean. Alright, so this one goes here. Oh. Gotta clean this up a little bit. Just make sure that's flat. Okay. Just like the other side, this side fits perfect. Nice and flat, flush, just perfect fit. this one, get this in there. Yeah, see, this one fits great. So that was really the trick. But I am sticking out just a little bit here. And it doesn't really want to go into its little channel. So I'm going to just take a hair off of that leading edge. Like that. And that did the trick. Now it'll sit in there. Nice. Very nice. Okay. That in there. Another line along here. There we go. Okay. Glue along this edge. Looking good. And just make sure that's against the edge there. Take up the slack. We're looking good. This side went in much better. Much better than this side. This side I even have a little bit of a gap I can see through right here, but it doesn't really matter. It's such an insignificant little thing. It's probably not going to be seen, but you know what? I know it's there. And because I know it's there, I don't like that. So we're going back to this stuff. I'm going to fill in this little gap here. There we go. So now how do I fix that? How do I clean that up? I'm going to use a Q-tip to clean that up. I'll show you. Let's take one of these and go white. Done. Wipe it off on a paper towel. Just clean that up. There we go. Nice. Looks good now. Okay. Alright, that's it. So later on, once this is all dried and cured, I'm going to go in here with some sandpaper and just kind of burr down this edge a little bit because this is sticking up and I want to get that flush. I'll go over all four of these pieces here, just everywhere, just to make sure it's nice and flush and flat, just to give the illusion that I did not put 4 different pieces together on there. But that's what you got there for your bottom of your intakes. Well, actually the intakes on your Su-57. Those are done. All right. So, what's next? Well, take a look at the instructions. They would have you assemble your engine nozzles, your exhaust nozzles. Okay? So we have this step number 8 here. Now if I remember, yes, we have version 1 and version 2. 2 versions of the nozzles on this plane. Let's grab them and we'll see what our differences are. Okay, so we got to get C5 and C4. Let's grab our C trees. We'll just do 1. Okay, I'm going to do 1 and I'll show you guys. And I'll do the second one, I'll do it off camera. So we've got 4 and 5 and they look pretty much the same. Like what's the difference? Let's find out. Let's get these off of the sprues. And we'll find out what is the difference between 4 and 5. What is version 1 and version 2? Why do they give us these? 1, there's 5, and there's 4. Okay, so what's going on here? They look the same, don't they? Well, actually, maybe not. Look what we got there. There's no gap anywhere along here. And then suddenly we got a gap. Why do I have a gap on this one? That's suddenly not straight. See? This is the one that has, suddenly there's a gap there. Right here. Why? Well, the reason is the Su-57, like the Su-35 and the F-22, they have thrust vectoring engines. which means these things go like this. Now, unlike the Su or the F-22, F-22, your engines go up and down like that. That's what they do. Bing, 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 bing. Okay. Whereas the Su-57 and the Su-35, the engines can rotate in like this. They can really rotate. That's why these planes are actually more maneuverable than an F-22. So, version 1 and version 2. So they put this one down because when the plane is got the landing gear down, the nozzles are supposed to face down towards the ground. And so if you want to depict it that way, you'd use this version. But this plane is going to be displayed in flight, which means the nozzles are going to face straight out. Okay? Now, you guys saw when I built that Su-35, that particular model by Great Wall Hobbies, they have that in such a way that you can actually leave it in there and you can rotate it as whatever you want. You don't get to do that with this one. This one you have to glue them in spot. So we're going to clean up our nubs off of these, and I think what we're going to do today is paint these. We're going to primer these things black, because although the instructions call out just paint a blue steel, that's not good enough. You know, if you want to get somewhat realistic looking in these things, you've got to do a lot more. You've got to break out your color palette for sure on these to get yourself a more realistic looking engine nozzle. The other thing we're going to need is C10 or C12, depending on what you're doing. Okay, so I'm a little confused which one was 4 and which one was 5. I know this one, this is the one with the curve on it. I think that's C4. Let me see. Grab our other C tree. Let's grab number 5 and C. Let's have a look at number 5 here. Number 5. No, number 5 has a curve. So, bing. It's number 4 that I want because I'm displaying this in flight. These two should match in theory. Yep. Perfect. Okay. So that's what I want. I'm using these guys. So I'm going to clean this up. I think today's video is probably going to be mostly all about engines and getting these prepared. Getting ready. I might even fire up my air compressor and get these primed black. Although these are primered gray already, they have been primered, but definitely ain't done. Okay, so we're using these, correct? Yes. We're using these two, not these two. Okay, these can go aside here. So that tells me we're using C4, not the explosive, but the sprue. C4, which means we need to use C12 and C2. So we need number 12, just this guy here. And number 2. There we go. We don't need our little support in the middle of this anymore. Doink. And just like the other parts, we're going to clean up our nubs. There's no detail on this one, so that's nice. So you don't have to worry about losing any of the panel lining detail for all the little fins and all the different little plates that are on it. There's that. Let's clean up the inside too. Go. Okay, so there's C2. It looks like it's supposed to have detail on the inside, but it seems to be just smooth. They show in the picture that there's a bunch of detail, but I'm not seeing it. Or maybe this is C12. There is the faintest, slightest little panel line detail on this. So I was wrong. There is panel line detail in here, but it's so tiny. I want to go around and kind of re-scribe them. Just because it's so faint. This is where something like a 3D printed engine would really, you know, help out with the detail and stuff like that. Because unfortunately the, you know, injection molded plastic, they don't always cut the mustard when it comes to detail like this. It's so hard to see sometimes even where the next line is. I'm just kind of lining it up and shining the light where the scribe is. It's so faint. Okay, so I've gone around the whole thing. And it looks like there actually should be a line going all the way around it, but I cannot see the line at all. There is a line on this side that I can sort of follow, or try to follow. Stupid glasses. Now, I'm no expert scriber in the least. I'm pretty sure if I try to scribe a straight line, I won't. I'm just trying to and keep some detail on this like it's supposed to have. There we go. So we've got some detail on it again. So see if the camera can actually pick that up. Now you can see I've got some panel lines on there. It's got some detail. That panel line detail was almost non-existent. It's really hard to see. Just kind of like that blurriness that's going on there. If I grab the other one off the other sprue, I'll show you. You can compare. I'll show you guys. Here's the other one. Okay. Here's the other one. Even when I get that in focus, it's still, you can't see, there's nothing there. There's just nothing. Right? You can't hardly see it. You compare that to the one I just did. If I can get it up here. Okay. If that'll focus, come on. Focus, please. You guys get the idea. There we go. Okay. Alright, anyway. That's that. So, this is going to go in like this. Just like that. So we can glue these together. Just like that. Let's get this out. These two go together like that. Okay. Now you see they got lots of nice detail on the inside of it. See the detail on the inside there? They got the lines scribed nicely. Right? It's really nice on the inside there. But, yeah. But then you get to the outside and it sucks. And then this is going to go on here like that. And you're going to have your engine nozzle. Just like that. And that's all it is. Now, would it have been easier to paint had I left this separate? Yeah, sure. Maybe a little less masking I'd have to do, but it doesn't really matter that much, really. It just means we got to mask it off. Okay, that's really all it means. This one now is ready for some paint, I believe. I think we're ready to put some primer on there. What I do want to do is, of course, when you do all that work, you take your knife and you do some scribing along there. What happens is the plastic, you get raised up plastic. So a trick I see a lot of guys do is they just kind of run a little bit of the extra thin over top of their scribing lines to lay down that extra little, that part of the plastic that's now raised up from that. So I'm going to try that. Just kind of go around it like this and let that do its thing. There you go. So there's one engine nozzle. Okay. So like I said before, I'm not going to do the same thing with the other side. You guys get the idea of what I need to do with this one now. Okay, so I'm going to deal with this other one later. In the meantime, I'm going to put this aside and have a look at this section here. This section here, we're going to assemble the, what do they call it? I guess the flame bucket. We're going to take C1, C7, and C9. We're going to put these together. So we have right here C9. Okay, C9. And then we're going to take C7. It's our little cone. That's way over here on the other side. We're going to clean this up and get it ready for installation. and it's going to drop down into the center here. So let me grab my tweezers. Where are my tweezers? My tweezers are gone. Seriously, where are my tweezers? There, they're way back over here. Okay, so this guy, it's hard to pick up because it's a cone. He's going to drop in right there. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to take C1, this guy here. Take him off the sprue. And he's going to drop down inside like this. And sit right about there. Is about halfway down. Okay, something like that. There's kind of a little ridge right along in here that he kind of sits down. So even if I take that little cone out, this guy's only going to drop down about halfway. Something like that. Something around that spot. Right? Right about there. So even without the cone, it only goes down that far. But you have to put the cone in first. Okay? So, I'm going to put some glue on the cone, and then I'll drop them in there. I like to use this stuff for this kind of a project because it just lasts a little bit longer. It doesn't dry quite as quickly. And then hopefully grab onto this without any problems. And drop him totally in the spot. Kind of press down on him. There we go. There we go. Our cone is in. So we'll let the glue do its thing. And we'll grab our other one and do the same thing. And what the heck, I might as well grab this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint our little flame bucket things light gunmetal. These are going to get painted light gunmetal, and the inside of these are going to be dark or just regular gunmetal. I call it dark gunmetal, but it says there's light and dark. But really, what are your two colors? There's regular gunmetal and there's light gunmetal. And so what I like to do is use the regular gunmetal as the regular inside. Let's try and do this a little different. I'm going to put glue on the inside of this time. And now I'll drop the cone in. Like that. And that worked a little bit better. Although I do have a little bit too much glue down at the bottom there. So let's see if I can kind of wick this up a little bit. There we go. Okay. So there's those. Those are going to be painted regular gunmetal. I think what I'm going to do, we're going to switch gears here. I'm going to paint a little bit. Okay. Because I want to get these assembled. I'd like to get them assembled today. Okay, so let's just get this stuff out of the way here for a second. And I'm going to find my gunmetal. My regular colored gunmetal. It's in here somewhere. There it is. Gunmetal. Okay. This is already thinned. I've got the big T I put on there. That means it's thin. I got to turn on my air compressor. I'll shake this up a little bit. I get my airbrush ready. Okay. Get my paper towel. Okay, so it's going to do this. It's a little different from my normal procedure. I'm going to grab a glove here. Okay, take this and spray. And there we go. There's one done, just like that. Doesn't take much. And there's the second one done. Again, it doesn't take much at all. Just like that. I'll do this one a little bit again, just to make sure. Got full coverage everywhere. Done. Just like that. Okay? That's all it takes. The other thing I need to do is paint these guys. So what I'm going to do with them, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take some masking tape. This. Put that on here. Like this. And like that. And put these guys down on here. Doink and doink. And I'm just going to spray them. I've got Tamiya's TS42 light gunmetal. This is just the quick and easy way to do it. Just like that. Done. And that's going to dry nice and quick and won't have to worry about it. So that's good. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. I'm going to clean up my airbrush. Oh, best viewers. One of Russ's 57 planes. Yes, that's right. You think Russia only has 57 planes? I think they have a few more than 57. Maybe not of this one. So I'm going to clean up my airbrush. You guys who are watching live, you get to suffer through that whole process and also suffer through me turning on my air conditioning because it's about 30 degrees in my room right now, which for you Americans would be close to 80, and that's pretty warm even with my fans going and the window open. So I'm going to turn on my air conditioner while I'm cleaning my airbrush. The rest of you guys watching on YouTube, you get to cut. I'm just going to cut it right here and go next, okay?
Later.
Okay, so with the airbrush clean, it's been a few minutes, quite a few minutes actually, and so this is now our flame bucket things. They're dry, so we can get rid of that. Switch the camera back and have a look. Okay, so we have our big buckets and we got our flame buckets that we're going to drop in just like that, so we get a little bit of a different look on there. and that looks a little bit nicer. So it just makes it pop out a little bit. But what I like to do is way down inside here, I want to do a little bit of black panel liner just to get some blackness in there. Alright, so I need my black. Okay, shake this up. And see, somebody told me it's really cool. One thing you can do is extend the brush out of these, and I did that. And after maybe 3 or 4 times using this stuff, my brush actually just fell off. So, and it's now in the bottom of my jar. So now I don't have the luxury of using the brush that came with the jar. So we're just going to put a little bit of black panel liner down in each one of these little sections. Just to give it a little something something. I think that just adds to it, makes those lines kind of pop a little bit. Just helps out with the detail. Okay, do the same with this one. Just inside those lines. Of course, the darkness in there will even make the light gunmetal piece pop even more. Just so that when you do look down the engine inside there, you'll see that a little bit easier, a little bit more. It's just one of those things that is a little detail that not everybody's going to see, but those who do happen to look in there, they're going to see that and they go, oh, that looks cool. Okay, so we'll drop our flame bucket back in here, like so, just like that, and that's all it needs. It just sits in there like that. Get the glue. In a few spots, don't need too much. So our capillary action over the Tamiya extra thin really helps out a lot with that. There we go. There's one. Let's get this one the right way around and drop him in just like that. We go. So our 2 engine things done. So we're going to let these dry. Now before I go, I wanted to work on our elevators. That's these guys here. Okay. These are also 2 stagnant things that we're going to do. We got version 2 and version 1, and that's going to depend on whether we're going to have our wings with the flaps down or not. Okay, so we don't have any option of doing the wings with the flaps up or down on this plane. So this plane is going to be in flight, assuming it's flying level. So I'm going to have the elevators level also. Okay, so I don't know whether that's going to be version 1 or 2, but we're going to find out because we've got our little things, C38s and 39s. that we're going to choose to put on our elevators. So first of all, let's find our elevators, okay? Let's find those off of our F tree. Off of our F tree. I believe one of my elevators is already off. One of them's already here, okay? So elevators are two pieces. We've got a piece that's going to have to go on the bottom here. So let's get those. So this would be, this was F11, this one here. F11 meets up with F14. Really? An F14? Wow, that's just like the Top Gun movie. What a coincidence. That's just like Top Gun Maverick. And that Su-57 against an F-14. Okay, we gotta have our nubs clean for this. Alright. These nubs, they gotta be clean too. Take the bulk of them off here, and then use my file. Alright, that's good. Anything else? Feel with my fingers? Nope, good, looks good. Okay, so this guy's gonna go on here, and it's just gonna fit into this little channel just like that. I'll have to use clips. That's okay. We can do this. Doink. And we want this to be together also. So another clip. Doink. Don't like that. That's a little better. Okay. So we use some Tamiya extra thin. We'll hold this together. I just filled this jar. I've seen online that Tamiya's airbrush cleaner happens to be something like 99% the same formula as their extra thin cement. So I went and bought myself some. I want to put another one right there, just because I want it held together on that corner. Okay, that's that one. I'm going to set that aside. Let's grab the other one. That's going to be F17 and F12. One, and then F12. All right. We'll get these put together, and then I think I'll call it a day. Does that sound fair to you guys? Clean that up. It's nice that these are the only two nubs on this whole section here. There's nothing on any other wing. This guy, however, is another story. We got a nub right in here, I think might be an issue. Oh no, there's a pin that goes in there. I didn't even notice that on the other one. Why they felt you need a guide pin right there when it only sits in this channel and doesn't go anywhere else. And one more. Let's grab another one here. We'll grab this guy. That'll do. Okay. going to let him dry. In the meantime, this guy is probably dry already, so we're going to swap places. Now, what do we need to grab? Now, we grabbed the F11 and 14, so we need C38 and 39. Let's grab our C trees. 38 and 39. We've got these guys here. Here's 38. Okay. It's 38, right there. And then 39. 39. Okay. What's the difference? Basically, they're two different thicknesses. It's like that. See? They're different thicknesses. That's really the only difference. So what's that going to do? Well, when you look at the fuselage and how this goes together, these should be okay to take apart now. Okay. So, yeah, put it together. Yep. Got an ugly looking little nub there. Okay, so let's grab our upper fuselage. So this wing is going to go in like right here. And you see that gap that's in there, right back here. See that gap there? Okay, that gap right there. Depending on which one of these you use, it's going to depend on how this wing's going to go. Okay. So if I use the big one and put this one in here, let's just clean that up. If I put the big one on here, like so, what that does is it forces this to be in the kind of downward position. You guys see that? So I can hold that on here like this. Put that, it's going to go flush against there, which makes that in that position. Sorry it's upside down, but that's how I got to show you. Okay? Actually, let's just turn around. I'll show you. The proper way. So you have it like this. It's going to go like that. Okay? If I use the thinner one, let's put the thinner one on there. It's going to go like this. Okay? Just like that. Put that on there. Now our wing is straight. Just like that. Okay? So, because this plane is going to be depicted in flight, we are going to have our wings straight. So, I want to put this one on. I want to put the thin one on. So, I want to clean up my nub. Make sure that's nice and smooth. Okay. And that's going to go on in that spot right there. Okay, I'm just going to hold it here for a sec, and then I'll just glue it from underneath here. There we go. There we go. Now just make sure it's flat, flush. There we go. So there's one. Just like that. Okay, that's all it is. Okay. That's one. So I'm not using the wide one. We can throw that away. I'll grab the other one off of the other tree. The other skinny one, number 39. Clean this up. And I already forgot, you know, sitting here enjoying my air conditioning, not realizing how loud it is in the background. I apologize, guys, doing this whole thing with my air conditioner in the background. Let's get this guy. It's not goes, that's kind of the wrong way. Nope, that was the right direction. These are kind of, you'll notice if I put this on in the wrong direction, it doesn't quite line up, it doesn't sit right. It does kind of have a little bit of a curvature to the top of it. That's going to help it line up. There we go. Okay. 2 pieces installed. Just like that. There's that one. Okay. Just like that. So these guys are done. Now what's kind of unfortunate, you know, it'd be nice if they had a pin in here to put it on to do that with your fuselage and actually get those in there. But all you do is just glue them on there. They just get glued on. So the other thing we can do is we can look at this part here on our upper fuselage. E15 and 16 are a couple of little things that go on to the top there. E tree. Where's my E tree? Is this E? I forget which one was E. That's G. This is E. E15 and 16. Before I go, we're going to do these. 15 and 16, these two here. So you ask, what are these for? Well, these are 2 little pieces that go on for 2 upper control surfaces, or your tail fins, your vertical tail fins, although they're not really vertical on this plane, are they? These guys go on the upper fuselage in this little spot here and here. They are lefts and rights. You'll figure out which one it is when you put them in. Okay, I get him sort of in there, but he's not quite. You got a gap there. There's a little gap at the bottom there. That's obviously not the correct side. Okay, let's grab the other one and put him in there. And if I can stop shaking around, and he fits in there quite nicely. Although putting them in there exposes my terrible nub mark cleanup. It needs to be cleaned up better. Okay, so let's put him in there. That's all he does, is he just sits in there like that. Just like that. And that's it. A little bit of glue. And he has a new home. Why they decided to do it like this, I don't know. I really don't. They could have just molded that and have a hole in there. They really could have. They could have molded that and just have that hole down there. You know, there's definitely other things in this kit that are more complicated than molding this in like this. And would have been fine. But for whatever reason, that's how they've done it. Just adding a little bit of glue at the bottom where it lines up there. There we go. So those are in. Just making sure they're flat and flush. Okay, good, good. And that's those. Okay, those are in. And that, guys, is where I'm going to leave it for today. Okay, that's where we're just going to leave it and let everything kind of dry. I am going to work on, what am I going to work on? Nothing. I'm not going to work on anything off camera. Okay? We're going to leave it. We're going to leave everything until next time. So, I do want to thank you guys. I want to thank you for all the support. I want to thank you for the new subscribers. And you know, you guys leaving comments on my videos, that's awesome. I really love seeing the comments. I love the interaction, you know. I want to interact with you guys. I do. I'd love to see your comments. I want to hear, do you guys like this stuff? Do you not like this stuff? Would you like to be something different? I encourage criticism. I always have, right? If you think I'm doing something wrong, I'd love to know about it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll continue on this next time. Until then, we'll see y'all later. 86 degrees. All right, see you guys in the next one.